All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Love Language the Roundtable. Today's topic is tools for building a strong family. And that was well, pray everybody's having a good day so far, has had a good week, that was productive, that you're continuing to learn something new and be encouraged in whatever you know, and that it leads to you doing. I was thinking about that earlier about a lot of conversation be going on, but not a lot of doing is happening, which is, you know, odd. But nevertheless, again, pray everybody's having a good day so far. There was a video that Shema mentioned last week that that it wasn't a springboard for this, but things happened to happen where they kind of like in sequential order. So there was a video that Shema shared with us last week that talked about family structure and whatnot. And so I had a chance to look at it. I watched the whole video and got to maybe like an hour into the video. It's 3 hours, but yeah, it's like an hour of the video. And so I think it's appropriate, at least for this conversation, where we're talking about, what does it look like to have a strong family? We have, for those of you who have been with us for a while, we've talked about parenting, sticking in a relationship, being in a relationship, being in a marriage, all those different things, divorce, remarriage, all of that. So I think this is probably maybe the second or third of our shows that's dealing with the actual unit as it is. So the ideal situation, of course, would be husband, wife, and kids in a nuclear household. So, or if you do polygyny, we honor that as well. But now we're just trying to kind of focus in on what does a healthy union really look like as far as the family is concerned? Not necessarily the husband and wife, but the whole household. So again, the title is Tools for Building a Strong Family. If you're listening online and you want to jump in, you're welcome to do so. There's a link that's in the details portion of the event where you can jump on. There's a Zoom link. You can jump on there and have your face on here or not. You can also put your comments on Facebook Live. We'll try to monitor that as well. So we look forward to hearing from you as we always do. So I'll just read the synopsis and then we'll get right into the conversation. So it says, family is the framework in which individuals are shaped and molded. Indeed, much of what we think, say, and do as adults is a product of what our houses, I should say houses. I'm editing myself as I go along. Much of what we think, say, and do as adults is a product of what our homes look like growing up. What are some of the major ills impacting the Black family today? What does a healthy household look like? What strategies can we use to fortify our households? So those are some of the initial questions. Of course, we're always open to the freestyle, to the other questions, the other things that you all want to talk about. We open to all of that. So so we're gonna open up with some initial comments. So Shema, Isaiah, Zebulon, and I'll go last. So I'm put myself on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. So what are some tools with building family structure? Is that the title? What's the title? That's how the title goes.
Tools for building a strong family, but not like muscles, not like big muscles strong, but
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I think that I believe that these tools that we're going to be talking about and we're going to be bringing out are lacked a lot in our community. It's a generational thing, I believe. Now, that isn't to say that it's not great family examples in our community. That's just like saying that we're some of the most, or at the bottom statistically, when it comes to financial freedom. And then somebody said, well, look at the superstars and the athletes. Well, they're very small in percentage. But we're talking about the whole group as a whole. So our tools, we lack the tools needed. And a lot of that, I believe, comes from, we brought this out, education. Education is like the biggest component to why we lack these tools. Some of us are um, seeing these things taking place and trying to do the action needed to accomplish it. So in that case, kind of being first generation within your own family. Um, a lot of these things aren't talked about. We just live life. Um, and like I was talking to somebody earlier, it's conditioned for us to just live life according to how they want us to live life. So I'm gonna stop there because it is some things I want to bring out, and maybe I'll bring it out in the following questions. If not, I'll make sure I bring it out if it's not uh, pointed towards the correct. I mean, the question that's given. So that's it.
Hello, everyone. Um, Deep, interesting topic. Opening remarks. I don't have many. I'm actually interested in seeing what everyone else brings forward. Um, we have a situation where, you know, whatever tools there are out there aren't necessarily being utilized to create these family dynamics. And not going to say in most cases, in some cases, but media portrayal of cases within our communities don't really present our family hubs, as being anything strong. Um, I think Shema was just alluding to that same fact. So I'm interested in seeing what tools are out there, um, and that's basically it. So I'm gonna pass it on.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I guess as an opening, uh, being that we're kind of camelbacking on Shema's opening, uh, I think again, brother Yeshayahu Isaiah just alluded to it as well, and that is that portrayal, media portrayal, not just media portrayal, but even social media portrayal has a lot to do with how we view the condition of families, and I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with that. Uh, like with me, and I think and I'm gonna keep this brief, and I'll probably revisit it as we the discussion continues. Um, that with me being, having a lot of experience in camps and being in communities and seeing the everyday workings of Hebrew families. Uh, I have a different narrative when it comes to that. I think that a lot of, especially among the Hebrews, I can't say for the African American population as a whole, but just amongst conscious Hebrews, that there is a large number of functional families. Unfortunately, many of the ones that you see on social media, they're not the most functional. So a lot of times, if a person comes on social media and they start looking around, poking around on their timeline, they see a lot of dysfunction among Hebrews, and they'll assume that because this is what they're seeing on social media, this must be indicative of a much larger issue in the community. But of course, when you actually have conversation with people in the community and actually get out there in the community and go to these congregations, go to these camps, and actually link up with people, you begin to realize that, like everything else on social media, it's very one-sided, and it's a concentration of dysfunction. So I think that the gene pool that we're tapping into has to be widened. We have to kind of like widen the pond a bit when we start to look at the conditions and the status of Hebrew families and things of that nature, and not just assume that what we see in social media or on the general media is the all in, because obviously, I think all of us on this panel, we all know quite a few families that are actually, they're together, they're happy, they're functional. So I just think that we take a more balanced approach. Not so much us, but just those who are out there watching, and not necessarily fall into the hype that tends to be pushed on us through these various media outlets. And that's pretty much. I'm gonna end there, and hopefully we can just unpack some more stuff as we go forward.
Hey, and Peace, Mike. I'm not sure if you want to join in. I seen you on here. I don't want you to feel awkward, but you're welcome to contribute to the conversation or not. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I'm
He new to the Zoom, so once I guess
okay.
once
Yeah, but I wish.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna keep talking, but if you ever want to jump in, just you I guess you could just unmute yourself, and that way I'll know that you want to speak.
I'll jump in when I'm, if I feel the need to.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. 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 So yeah. So we'll just go ahead and get started with the first question. I'm trying to do this. The first question is okay, yeah. What are some of the major ills impacting the Black family today? So that's the first question. I'm gonna put it in the chat thing as well.
Yeah, do that. What are some of the major? Let me read it real quick. Hold on. Chats. Oh, you didn't put it in there yet. Okay, so what are some of the ills I think that we're facing? I want to say this before I answer. I know I got 7 minutes, and those is in. I know Mac knew, just in case he decided to speak. We give 7 minutes for the questions. You could take the whole 7. You don't have to. That's how we roll on here. Just to make sure everybody get a fair, time to speak. I want to say something that Chief Zeb Lam was bringing out, and he made a great point. In addition to that, I guess the thing that I want to say is I look at Eli, the priest, and his family, and some will argue and say, he didn't do a great job at what he was supposed to do with his children, who were basically, they knew of things pertaining to the lifestyle, but they did not. It was evil amongst the people. I wasn't there, so I don't know what he did or what he went through when he was facing or training them up. But sometimes it's so many different layers with education. So I think I just wanted to put that out there, like even within our community, it's a lot of great examples. It is, I guess, the biggest factor that I have an issue that I'm starting to have. And those that know me, like if I end up with somebody and I have oh shoot, I just lost my notes. I wrote some notes, y'all, this time. I had a family. I'm probably gonna do homeschooling. And the reason for that is because, we raise them up and we teach them at home. But, a lot of us, we're not able to do homeschooling, and that's understandable, but they still face that world. And it's like, all we could do is hope that our influence is more potent than the influence of the world. So one of the ills that I put up in there that we are facing, or let me read that properly. Hold on. Kind of glitchy on my end. What are some of the major ills impacting the Black families today? I think it's education more than anything. I just put a post up. I don't know if you all saw it when it was talking about it showed in there that African Americans, they were brought to America, and in exchange to be in America, this is in the school books, in exchange, they will work for 7 years. And then after that 7 years, they became slaves. That's what's taught. If that's true in school books, it's not the first time I heard it. I've been hearing it for a couple of years now. But if that's true, that is a big problem. It's a huge problem because our children are being taught by the outside world. And the outside world might not be, they aren't what we are doing part of our walk. So I think one of the big ills is the education within our own home on many different levels. Some people need to learn how to educate. Everything don't have to be harsh. Some is health, agriculture, which I will love to learn more on. Finances, some of us don't know anything really about it. I'm one of those that don't know a whole lot about it, but wish I was taught more so on it as a child. Our parents did the best that they knew to do, so no shade at my parents. But I think that's one of the things that we are facing in our home. We're being taught by a system that wants us to basically work. We're not being taught how to be secure with ourselves, for ourselves, secure what they say today, our bag. You know what I'm saying? How to save properly, how to invest, what the scripture talk about, how to, farm and stuff like that. So you won't really need for outside. So those are the things that that I think to start off with. Is that 7 minutes? No?
You got 3 minutes, Doc.
I have 3 minutes. Damn. Minutes going slow. Yeah, so they said, he said basically indentured servants. Yeah, that's what Yeshayahu commented on what I was saying. Yeah, I think that we've been saying this a lot on the show, but education is the biggest thing. I posted 2 posts today too about as far as like respect with parents, mother and father. Once we lose that respect, that relationship is real bumpy, and that's the foundation of the home. So if you break up that mom and that dad, now it trickles down to the children. And sometimes the children can handle it. Sometimes the children won't be able to handle it. It just depends, sometimes that's a lot of things that that's a lot to carry as a child, as a teenager. And then you got outside friends that you're watching, and they might have family members. And it's just so much. The whole dynamic is crazy. Matt commented, he said, speak on family traditions. Traditions is important. When you don't have no traditions and no history taught to you, now you take on other people's traditions. And some don't know those traditions are geared towards those people of those type of traditions, their gods. I'm not getting into that like that, but that's the truth in the matter. So you don't know your own traditions, which your either your what you might identify as your religion or culture, or whether it's family traditions, then you tend to take on other people's traditions. What's that one? The Irish that everybody be doing. What's the Irish holiday that we do? Anybody?
St. Patrick's Day.
No.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day.
Is
It
that
has
it?
nothing to do with us. Yeah, that's it. So it has nothing to do with us. But we celebrate it because we do have, but we're not educated on that stuff. So it's those things, that thing he mentioned with the family traditions, the things with the education, the schooling, the agriculture, the teaching the men how to take stuff to be able to build homes and stuff like that. These are things that we lack. These are things that I lacked, and I'm 35 years old, and I'm teaching a lot of to myself. Bless my parents that was in my life, did the best that they knew, you know. But these are things we have to want to do for our children in the future to change this dynamic. And
Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on with this computer, but I think I'm up next. Shema, thumbs up if I'm up next. I think you're frozen though. Yeah, he is
I
frozen.
feel like that's on your end. I could see Tamar. She moving around. Can you
I
see
can hear you
me,
now.
Tamar?
Okay, cool. I got you. Were you done with your point? Because it blacked out on my end.
No, I've been done for a minute.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, people. My fault. Um, Man, everything you said,
Hmm.
Mac, you going?
I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, okay, I got you. I thought you were gonna say something. Okay,
Oh no.
everything you said, Shema, is dang, it's kind of where I was gonna go. One of our biggest ills are, wolves as far as families, especially when it comes to our community, or at large, the so-called African American experience and community would be financial instability. Um, in my opinion, I read a article some years ago now, and it was talking about generational wealth and how most families of other ethnicities um, they tend to have more substance to the things that they pass on to the next generation, whether it be house or money or businesses. I remember a funny article talking about Trump, the president of the United States, saying that his pops gave him $1 million to kind of start his own pathway with. Um, $1 million is a lot now. It was probably even more back then. Um, you already touched on education and the ability to homeschool. That's a big thing. I'm not necessarily sure on homeschooling per se. I don't think every household is set up to be able to do that. But within the community, we do need to strongly look at educating ourselves, looking at the educational system that I was even a part of or grew up in. Um, Luckily, I had teachers that were willing to kind of go the extra length to get off the I guess whatever subject plan that they had to go. They went the extra mile and making sure we kind of understood some things in the world. But I was talking to my little cousin. This is probably about 2 years ago, and I was asking them about some history things, and they were telling me they don't even have history classes anymore as far as learning about subjects pertaining to their own believed culture or understanding. Everything was at the time Greek mythology. And I was like, they were in, I believe, the seventh grade at the time. And I was like, so you mean to tell me from when you first started going to school or first started learning about history, which is like the first grade, to the seventh grade, you learned nothing about your people, not even slavery? And they were like, no. And I was baffled. But education is big. It seems like those things we have to go outside anyway to kind of learn. But being able to pass those things down to the next generation, I think that's kind of where we need to start, and keeping that ball rolling, even with the ideal of you know building families as we speak at this present point. Um, getting people on the same mindset and that same wave of ideal within a household is important. Discussing family values. Um, I see a lot of times. I was just with a large amount of my family actually came up, um, and to sit down and talk with people and see even within the parents to their children, which I've happened to watch some of these people grow up, and we're all adults now, and to see how far we are from a central ideal as far as unification. It was disheartening, so to speak, and that's another thing that kind of it's sad to see, but it's definitely something that we have to be aware of and pay attention to. Excuse me. So I would say, along with, I guess you can lump that in as family traditions and values. We don't see that anymore, and I think in order to improve on that, we have to build those. Or whatever you decide as a family, what you guys are going to agree upon as far as belief. That might be a good place to start. But starting somewhere and saying these are going to be our core values, and determining what those are. So I'll go ahead and yield there.
Hey, brothers are hitting in the head. So I'm not gonna attempt to go into anything too long about it. Because I think obviously when we look at the ills that are as I would say plaguing the Black community, and I'm gonna keep at this point I'm just gonna keep the narrative general to Black families as it says, and not necessarily zoom in on the Hebrew families per se. But but I think obviously income is always going to be a major ill that's going to impact the family, because it's one of the only things, one of the only components in a family that's non-negotiable. You know, people will negotiate their morals. People will negotiate their outlook on life. They'll change direction as far as where they'll live, or whether they want to have children. A lot of things are on the table for compromise, but finances is one of those things that it's not up for compromise. Either you're able to provide or you're not. And when you're not able to provide, it causes a massive instability in the family structure. Now, of course, if you look at the African American experience, as we like to call it on the show, if you look at the African American experience today, you have sort of a conundrum that's happening where there is a absence, generally speaking, not always the case, but generally there's an absence of black fathers in the households. So this creates a situation where now the woman has to go and probably work more than she should be working in order to provide for her for her household. But the downside to that is the more hours that she works, the less time that she has with her family, and in this case, her children. And now if she has to, and now if her children have no responsible adult with them while she's at work, she now has to pay for child support, or sometimes not child support, but child care or whatever. She pays for all this child care. She needs more money because child care is not cheap. So what does she have to do? She has to work even more. The more she works, the less time she's in the house. The less time she's in the house, the less of a grip that she has on her children. So then your children start going out into other areas to get, whether it's the streets, whether it's whatever the case may be. So I mean, I think regardless of anything that we deal with in family structure or whatever, Finances is non-negotiable. If you have, if your income is right, then all is well. But if it's not, then there's gonna be an immediate breakdown in that family. There was once upon a time in this country, there was an understanding that, well, hey, listen, and I'm talking about, 30, 40, 50 years ago, where if we're struggling, it's like, well, okay, we're struggling, but hey, we love each other, we love our family, we're gonna make it work. There is very little tolerance of with that nowadays. You got relationships that'll break down the moment that the woman or the woman gets laid off. You can get laid off, be like, oh, relationship's over. Now the relationship is on the gate over things that 50 years ago wouldn't have even had made a family even blink their eye. Now it's become a major issue because we're chasing things that are not, going back to what Shema said, we're chasing things that are not even ours. We're chasing concepts, concepts of family, concepts
Wow.
of family stability that are not even ours. So we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but you realize that the Joneses actually don't exist. It's a figment of people's imagination. So you're trying to keep up with something that you're never going to catch. It's like catching wind. You keep trying, but of course, you, you never actually catch it. And in the meantime, you begin to frustrate yourself. You begin to frustrate your partner, and because of that, the family structure becomes frustrated. And so now, when you have those issues of financial, the income matter being an issue there, everything else, every other little issue that might have been able to be looked over, now every small issue becomes a major issue because finances has created the atmosphere for that. And I think that not for nothing, a brother that one of my brothers out from New York, New Jersey, brother named Ari Agad, he said that one of his biggest mistakes was having children before he was financially stable. Of course, he was able to work it out over time, whatever he got the situation right and exact, but that situation could have went either way. And I think that, so again, I think that in the current African American experience, finances, income, I don't think that there might be some things that are more important from a moral standpoint, more important than income, but from a practical standpoint and being able to function in this society, I sadly have to say that I don't think anything is more important than income, and that in itself is a vexation of spirit. So with that, I'll yield.
Hmm. That was good.
Did you want to say anything, Mac? You want to jump in?
Yeah,
Or?
I did. I kind of wanted to speak on. I kind of put it in the chat, but isn't that kind of based on? Because today he spoke on the finances, the finance part. You kind of see too, and if we're talking about the so-called Black people, African Americans, it kind of seems as though, like you were talking about doctors, you see more doctors, lawyers, Black women, and why is it that it's seeming in a lot of households that the Black men always have to do like the trade jobs or the hustler type jobs or the entrepreneur jobs, and the Black women are just, and I'm not hating on the Black women, I love my Black women, but why are they given the six-figure jobs and the, you know what I'm saying? And that's already kind of causing a discourse in the so-called African American Black family anyway, because it seems as though then at certain points there's a discourse because, well, mommy has all the money, daddy just is the helper. When we talk about scripture, or we talk about even in books, or if we talk about history books, or if we talk about anything else, you're supposed to find a help me in your woman, correct?
Indeed, but you are opening up a very peculiar
Very.
can of
Oh,
worms,
I want
Doc.
to open it. I want to talk about it. No, 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 no. I want to talk about it. I want to open it up and talk about it. I'm not, like I said, I love my black woman, but this is a topic I think we definitely need to speak on because it's becoming a lot. And I've ran across people who say that, man, you know, my wife makes the money. I just sit at home and chill and watch TV and drink beer all day, or I just sit here and why is that? Why are you okay with that? Why when nature or when um the way that they so-called say the black man is supposed to be, or the so-called African American or the so-called Hebrew, whatever you want to call us, you should be out there working. You're not a real man if you're not working. You're not a real man. But what happens when the roles reverse? I do want to speak. I think we should tap into that. I know that's very broad, but if you guys can, if you want to help me out with chopping it down for me, then that would be great. You know, I'm new, so you guys gotta condition me a little bit. This is love language we're talking about, so I'm trying to keep it on love. My tone may seem a little, don't get discourse from my tone either. I know I'm speaking a little loud.
No, you're good. So we appreciate that. We can add that as maybe after we get through the next few questions, we can definitely, I'm saying, chop it, or I'm sure they'll come up. So so a lot of good points made. I think the question again is, what are some of the major ills impacting the Black family today? And I'm a believer that it is because we don't want to be better. I don't believe. I think I'm gonna mute you. I'm a believer that we don't want to be better. I think that we spend a lot of time whining and complaining and moaning and why is this not the way it is? My upbringing or my background or the white man or whatever, and it's exhausting because because for two reasons, right? Well, not two reasons. The main reason is we say that we are against. I'm saying we collectively as Black people say that we are, the most powerful people in the world. Some of us believe that, right? And we'll say, you know, we're against white supremacy, right? But when we sit and act like victims, we're basically affirming that the white man is supreme and that his ways are ruling the world to the point where we can't even get ourselves together. And I'm not ignoring systemic issues in our community because they exist. We are born to certain environments. But I think at this point, and I think it's something interesting about the time that we're living in right now, it's been called the information age, right? People have access to information just on a basic level, right? I would even say that we have more access than our parents did, even the previous generation, just to information, right? To access. We might not be as close as we used to, but I believe in a power that is still waiting for us to get our stuff together. And I think that we don't want to. We would rather sit back and complain, point the finger, not do our part. And I mean, even as an individual. So even if everybody around you is on some nonsense, like, what are you doing to even move the needle further? I'm saying there are people that I know who have took leaps of faith, have left whole situations behind and done different things because they decided within themselves, even if everybody around me is on some nonsense or is going whatever, I'm gonna at least do what I can so that like the Bible, for those who believe in the Bible, it says that Abraham was righteous in his generation, you know what I'm saying? Or no, it was perfect in his generation. So it's the individual thing, right? Of course we want it to collectively trickle down to our households. I mean, what husband want to be with a wife who is not supportive of him, or what wife want to be with a husband who is the same thing? So we are a part of each other overall, but there are things that we could do individually that could help push things different, at least for our children's sake. So there was a video that I shared the other day that I thought was interesting, and I don't typically I don't know. I don't typically share videos as far as interviews unless it's like about music. I'm a music person, but it was by this guy named Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who is from, I think he's from the Nation of Islam, but it's on the Breakfast Club, and I think it's a couple of years old, but it's called the Dr. Wesley Muhammad discusses the rise and resurrection of Black men and women in America. I'm gonna put the name of the topic, the title in the online on the Facebook thing again. And if you could sit through it and listen to some of the stuff he said, I didn't agree with everything he said, but a lot of stuff he said made a lot of sense if we just look at ourselves. But I think we cried too much, we whining too much, and it's exhausting. So everybody could be doing what they're doing, but what are you doing? If you're not doing anything, then you can't point the finger. It's not really fair. So that's my thoughts. I know Shaul wanted to come on. I want to give him a chance to speak. So Shaul, if you have 7 minutes, I believe, but if you want to jump in.
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead,
You hear
bro.
me? Okay.
Yep.
Shalom to everybody on here, all the viewers, listeners, all the brothers, sisters on here. Okay, so I think Tamar, I heard the majority of the points. I got on kind of late. I probably missed about 18 minutes, but anyway. So I don't think I heard. I think I might have caught. Shema was first, I believe. So I think I might have caught everybody's point. But I do want to say that I think Tamar made the best point. Just in terms of what the reality of the situation is. Like it's been at the point where we're, screaming, yelling, crying, and complaining about what our circumstances is. It is, to be honest with you, throughout history, other nations, whenever it was a kingdom in power, the other nations who didn't have the opportunities had to figure out a way to overcome of their own, they had to figure out a way to survive and overcome of their own strength and power. So that's what we have to do. That's the, situation and predicament that we're in. But and I also hope we had time to address what the other brother was saying, the brother Mac, that was talking about the women getting the 6-figure jobs and whatnot, because that was a whole agenda from the beginning, which I'm pretty sure everybody know about. But now to the question at hand, what are some of the ills that plague us as a community? And really, it's really simple, man. It's a lack of true manhood. It's a lack of leadership. It's a lack of discipline. And those are the things you need to even create finances or administer education or build a stable family structure and a household that has balance. Right now our men are weak. You know what I'm saying? Brothers don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't have any answers. You know what I'm saying? We have plenty of brothers out here who have knowledge, but it's pseudo knowledge. It's not. It hasn't been fit. It hasn't been. It hasn't shown to be fit to change anything. Just being honest, because like I've been in the Hebrew faith for 10 years, and I know plenty of people that's been in there longer than that, and nothing has come about of all this knowledge or all this abundance of information and knowledge that we have had, because we prideful, we're weak-minded, we don't have leadership anymore, we don't have discipline anymore, we don't understand. There's so many things that we don't understand, but when we speak, you would think a person understands, and it's like we really don't, honestly. And so let's think about, I don't know if anybody watched the interview that the celebrities did with Killer Mike and T.I. and a couple of them females, and they was on stage, and Killer Mike was talking about how until we're ready to separate and govern ourselves or self-govern and show that we can self-govern sufficiently and proficiently, then we can't talk about a revolution. And I agree with that, because that's what the issue is. We talking about we talk that a lot of the topics that's been discussed on the show and that's been discussed around the world amongst our people right now are things that we are not even capable of handling as a collective, because everybody is selfish. You know what I'm saying? And this whole self-preservation thing, and you know what I'm saying, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna worry about what's in my house, so I'm worried about my family, I'm gonna worry about this, I'm gonna worry about that. And yeah, it's cool, like, you know, you smiling people's face, you shaking their hands, you know, Shabbat, you playing church, and everything look good, everything sound good, but then, you know, you go home and you don't hear nothing from nobody. You know what I'm saying? The whole
Amen.
doggone week.
Amen.
So at the end of the day, the things are we're all these topics are interconnected. We're talking about autonomy, but until we understand how to sacrifice for one another, none of these things that we're talking about is gonna ever work. Now, to get too deeper into those autonomous things, like I know the brother brought up homeschooling. I've been preaching that for the longest time. You know, I know the other brother Yeshayahu said that, you know, everybody's household not set up to do that. And it's like, to be honest with you, I'm just gonna keep it 100. I'm tired of hearing excuses. Like, if it ain't set up right now, set the shit up. I mean, it's nothing else to do but just set it up. If you a man and you don't have skills that can pay the bills, then go get the goddamn skills. I mean, it's as simple as that. And the reason why I say that is because, bruh, in a lot of these states, these impoverished states, like Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, you know, Maryland, like a lot of these places have free programs for brothers to get their skills up so that they can make a certain level of income and then save a portion of that income so they can make investments. You know what I'm saying? So they can turn those investments into a income stream to actually be able to homeschool their children. Nobody saying you have to do it this year. If it take you 3 years to do it, then you work on that goal. You just work one thing at a time. So at the end of the day, I agree with Tamar. It's at the point to where we don't want to do nothing. We don't want to change. We don't want to grow. And people got to stop making excuses. If you don't have it today, then make sure you set a 12-month, 6-month, 9-month goal, 2-year goal. I don't give a damn how long you set the goal. You work on that shit every day until you figure it out. But I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, ain't nobody set up. Like, I don't want to hear that. I'm tired of hearing that. Nigga, just do what you got to do at the end of the day. And learn how to love other people, learn how to sacrifice for other people, learn how to put others before yourself, not just the people that's in your house. And those are going to be the things that we have to start doing that's going to be able to change how we, you know, make income and how we educate ourselves and how we grow our spirituality and so on and so forth. And those are going to be the things we're going to have to do. But right now, we can't talk about money because you niggas are selfish. Anytime you bring up money in a group of people, people got all these different opinions. People get mad. They don't want no system. They don't want nothing. So at the end of the day, it's so many other things that we have to work on and have to do as a people before we can even start to make progress with a lot of these other things. You know what I'm saying? If a lot of you brothers that's listening or whatever the case is wanting to know if you've got a family or a wife or you're single or whatever and you're struggling and you're trying to figure out how to make an extra income, bro, and you live in some of those metropolitan areas, Illinois or whatever, they have free programs to become a welder, to become an electrician, to become a plumber. These are jobs that pay a lot of money. If you network yourself, if you advertise yourself, if you put yourself out there. And I know because I'm doing it myself. I've been doing it for years. I've been driving trucks for years. So at the end of the day, it ain't no excuse for a grown man to not be able to make the moves he need to make to prosper his family. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I'll leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? As far as just naming some of the ills that plague us as a people and the things that we need to work on. That's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
I want to say
And,
something.
oh,
Excellent points. I just want to say this real quick in commenting and like collectively what everybody was saying real quick. Or did you want to say something in place, Tamar?
I have some resources I was going to just shout out to. That's all. But go ahead, and then we'll go to the next question after you say what you're going to say.
What I want to say, what he said and what Zebulon said is really, 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 really important. He said he's been in it for about 10. I've been in it for about 9. Zeb been in it for about 50 years. No, I'm playing.
Whatever, Joe.
Chief, I'm messing with you, man.
Nah, I know.
But,
It's all love, bro. It's all love.
but watch this. Watch this. I say that for a reason. I've been in it for this long, and I'm just now seeing that a lot of these things that we're complaining that's not in the forefront has actually been happening. Like it's a group by the name of in the Hebrew community, and I'm sure Zeb know a few of them. I think he's talking about the Goshen community, but it's a group by the name of they call it the Nation Builders, and they literally are. The biggest problem, real quick, this is another ill right here. The biggest problem is all these doctrines. When we have doctrines, we don't want to work together. That's one of the things. We need to learn how to put that stuff aside. But what I was about to bring up is the person that I'm talking with now. They've been dealing with this for years, 18 years. And they work together. They take the skill sets like the brother was talking about, and they put the skill sets together. And these men of the family, they literally, they're homeschooling their children, the women and the men, they're homeschooling their children. And they are taking their skills and trading their skills with someone else that has a skill they need and what they need, and they're just coming together. We're not doing it. It's there. You know what I'm saying? Another point I wanted to put out, but before I go to that, finish that point, or before I go to the next point, is it's there, man. You know, this is to Yeshayahu. This it's out there, man. It's like it's people out there. And that's why I understand what Chief Zeb was saying as far as not really putting the saying it's the why. It's the whole community. You know what I'm saying? Generalizing everything. So it is out there. We just don't know of it. The people. It's kind of like when they want to talk bad about black people or whatever people, they'll put the minority of the issues out there, and that's the bigger issue. You know what I'm saying? Of the whole community. We know all black people are not bad. It is good families out there. It is great men and women out there. But that's not what's being pushed. So I said it to say, like in the Hebrew community, it is people that's really doing this thing as far as family structure, homeschooling, and you know, truck, like he mentioned, truck driving. I'm about to be doing that within the next 5 months. You know. So it's like it's there. Another thing I want to say is going back to what Tamara was saying was. Think about it, y'all. We're in the age of what you say all the time, tomorrow, information. You know, we have social media and stuff. So it's like now a lot of people are just voicing their opinions. I think back then they didn't have this stuff. So it's like we voicing it, we complaining, you know. I know he mentioned weak. I don't know what he really meant when he said weak. I don't think it was negative when he was saying weak, but I took it when he said weak as more so uneducated on these things. We're basically out weak. You know what I'm saying? We strong as men, but we weak from a standpoint of like, you know, we think of video games, you know, your energy go down, you ain't able to fight that the rest of the fight. So I'm saying weak from a standpoint of we don't have the skills, we don't have the education. He said electrician, he said, you know, welding, all this stuff. These are great skills that we just don't have, and we can have it. We don't want to. We just, and why is that? Why do I believe that's the case? It's because we condition. We condition not to. In school. They're not teaching our children this in school. We learning stuff we ain't even gonna do when we get older. So with that, I'm done. I don't want to take too much time. I just wanted to say I love the points that he brought out. I see what Chief Zeb saying. I know tomorrow you saying and stuff. I just feel like as far as the complaining is more so because now everybody has a platform now. So everybody have a voice. They didn't have voices back then. Wasn't no social media.
So I guarantee you a lot of the complaining we see was inside the homes with the wives and the man and the husband. So it seems as though it's a lot of people just crying and complaining. And that might be the case from different people's perspective, but that's fine. But I don't think that's the forefront of everybody. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my take. I ain't nobody. Peaceful.
Okay. Man, very good points. Some things I want to speak on though. When I said everybody's household is not set up for homeschooling. Not saying that it can't be done, but that's a fact. Um, some people, as Shemai even alluded to, I believe in his opening statement, some people don't have the necessary, well, I don't want to say skill set, but they don't have the patience to teach, or they aren't skilled at teaching certain topics, which is why even in a community aspect, you see, I forgot the name of the community, but they have different teachers on different things, and they all come together. And as families, they teach their kids. Matter of fact, there was an example on Facebook where the man was a mechanic, and he was teaching all of the kids of the community how to do stuff like changing tires and, you know, taking batteries out and, you know, minor, you know, mechanical work. But those we used to have those type of classes, carpentry classes and everything else. I don't know. I can't speak on all of the different regions, but I'm talking about specifically where I grew up here in Jersey and the New York area. As far as some of those free programs, they have some up here in this area too, and we should share some of those resources. Um, but a lot of the problems with them is they're not easy to get into. Matter of fact, there was just a listing for an apprentice position for plumbing probably about 5 months ago now. And the not that you couldn't meet the qualifications, but it was they made it real rigorous for one to easily slide into. So it's about keeping up with those. But there are a lot of free tests out there that you can take to kind of put you in a position to do what you need to do. Am I running close to my minute?
No, you good. You got like about a minute and a half.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, um, as I was stating, when it comes to unifying and self-governing, and that Killer Mike episode was deep, but we forget that there's a whole bunch of different ideals, viewpoints, religions, paradigms, however you want to put it, and nobody has a sense of core. When I say core values, those things that we equally agree on. In the Bible, it says, how can two walk together unless they agree? Or something to that similitude. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing. Not saying we have to agree on everything, but in order to be self-governed, in order for us to have an equal footing as far as even a military power or anything else that revolves us dealing with ourselves, we need to go back to the mindsets that we had in, you can say, the 40s and the 50s and even earlier than that in some cases, because that's where we thrived at the most as far as businesses. And I come from you know, and that's the shift that we have to go back and create, which is what we're lacking, because that core isn't there. So I'm a yield and let somebody else respond.
Okay, so I have put like if you're on Facebook, I'm gonna say it 'cause for the people that's on YouTube next. So Shaul mentioned some of the programs looking in your city locally and seeing if there's programs that you can enter into as far as skills. And then there was a press release that is called USDA announces 1890 National Scholars Program funding opportunity. Again, USDA announces 1890 National Scholars Program funding opportunity. That's really long. But basically, you can go to an HBCU, I think in 8 places for free to learn agriculture. So they pay for books, tuition, blah blah blah. And this is for younger people, but talking about family. If you want your children to not be at the point now where they're older and complaining, this is an option as well. So another thing too is that there are people who and I don't know, Ram, I want to get to the next question. There are people who are doing what we're seeing right now. There are, like we already mentioned, but I know the Mashara, Yasha, even though I don't know too much about it, but they're trying. So I think that there are organizations or groups of people that's trying to create some kind of something that is that's a uniform thing. So without us getting into the Bible and all of that, I'm because everybody might not agree on the Bible. That's cool, right? But I look at the scriptures, at least the Torah, as principles that we all want. We all want judgment. We all want to be taken care of. We all want to be protected. We all want to be able to eat. All these different things, right? So you can find that in the script, in the Torah. That's my personal little plug for the Torah, right? But let's look at this. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Shaul mentioned putting money to the side, right? In the scriptures, it mentions a tithe. And I know people say, well, tithe is not money, blah, blah. But I'm a living witness. If you put a certain amount of money away every time you get paid, however you manage that, right? You'll be amazed at how much money will be in there. Not for you, but for people around you. So I'm a living witness. And people that know me know what I'm talking about. So there are things that we can do, but we just don't want to do it. And there's so many excuses, and I really don't want to harp that point, but it's so depressing. It makes it seem like why are we even on the show? Like, are we just gonna be some more talking heads? And then what was the purpose of it? So I think okay, Shaul, I'm gonna give Shaul another minute, and then we're gonna go to the next question. So you go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say this. Now, again, when I said what I said earlier about the other brother's comments or whatever, it wasn't to be negative. It was just saying that we have to get past a certain type of mindset. But I wanted to tell this short story. I don't know if anybody ever watched Isaiah Thomas, the brother that played for the Pistons back in the day. I don't know if anybody ever watched his Hall of Fame speech, but he was talking about how he gave a speech on being great and talking about how if you want to be great, it takes a certain level of sacrifice. And at the end of the day, ain't nothing we're trying to accomplish going to come without a major, major sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of things we're going to have to do that we don't want to do. So I know the brother said a lot of the programs in his area might not be easy to get into. That's cool. New Jersey is a high cost of living place. If you just save your money up and move to another place. Oh, well, what about my family or this and this and that? Well, you got to make that sacrifice if you want to make it happen. I'm not necessarily saying that's your situation specifically. I'm just giving it an example. But at the end of the day, as a collective, it's going to require a major sacrifice for these things to happen, which means that everybody listening and talking about this have to say nothing else matter but me putting this work in and making it happen. Period. And that's it.
Yeah, and if I may, I just to I don't know, maybe to bring a little balance to the communication. I think that both sides of the coin are valid, because of course you do have, there is a portion of our people that where nothing makes them more happier than to complain without figuring out a solution. That's the hallmark of social media. Social media is not meant for fixing problems. It's meant to be, like Tamar said, it's meant to establish talking heads, where that's all you do. You don't have to actually solve anything on social media. Why? Because social media is not set up for solving a problem. That's what real life is for. You solve problems in real life, out on the field, with the boots to the ground. So I get this. So no doubt, absolutely, there is a portion of our people who thrive on nothing but complaining. But also on the flip side is that I once did this was it was more of a social, it was like a socio-psychological kind of test that I had pulled on a friend of mine. I had made a random statement to them. We were just, this is when I was still in New York, and we were out Coney Island, we were at Nathan's or whatever like that, just chilling. And I was like, yo, all black women are ratchet. All of them. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, all of them. All of them are loud. All of them are ignorant. All of them, their breath stink. All of them, whatever. They're just this complete ratchetness. All of them. All of them. No exception. And he couldn't understand what I was getting at. He was like, yo, that doesn't even make any sense, Chief. How do you come to that conclusion? I said, well, it has to be true. I mean, look at, just turn on your TV and look at Maury. That's it. Clearly, if you turn on Maury, it's obvious that black women are ratchet. And he understood what I was getting at. I was like, my point is that when you narrow, when you are operating in a fishbowl, and the fishbowl only has 4 fish, it's very easy to conclude that fish move in a certain way. Why? Because it's only 4 of them, and it's only a certain amount of space that they can operate from. The problem, or not so much the problem, but what needs to happen is when we go out into the larger ocean, when we go out into the larger pond, and we look at things from a more wider perspective, you find that actually this is not true. That no, black women are not ratchet. That it's actually a small pocket of black women who operate in that manner. I don't know, am I being heard, or is there a audio issue?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, because it looked like, I don't know. So I also, and I say all that just to say, and this was something that me and Shamad, we spoke on a while ago, and we actually were touching on it obviously again today, and that is that one of the matter of fact, I think everybody, I spoke to Tamar about it, and also to Isaiah, that we get a completely different vantage point of things when we're actually physically in the community, when we're moving to and fro, when we're seeing how people operate on a day-to-day basis. So when you see these things and then you get back on social media, you realize that most of what's being complained about is really just a social media issue, because the people that that are actually doing the things, they're really not on social media that much. They're busy kind of making other moves, and they're doing what they got to do, and they're helping whoever they got to help. So I think, again, the balance is that, yes, there is a portion of our people that is complaint driven. This is what motivates them. They get up every morning before they even brush their teeth. They're thinking about a way to complain about something that they're not going to fix. But just remember, social media is a fishbowl, and that the larger community is actually doing the very things that we're talking about. Not just Goshen, but there's you name the camp. Like I said, I'm from New York, where we're coming from communities that do the very thing that we're talking about. That we're buying up real estate, giving Israelites homes, setting up schools, sending sisters to nursing schools so that they have the tools to come back to the community and teach other sisters, so on and so forth. So these things, over the past almost 30 years that I've been in this walk, these are the things that I've seen done continuously in the community. It's only when we get on social media, the fishbowl, that we begin to see a lot of the nonsense that Brother Shaul is referring to. So again, not negating what he's saying, because what he's saying is obviously valid, but I just don't want the narrative to go to the point where we're taking the fishbowl and we're trying to transposing it over to the pond, because like I said, many of us, we've been in the pond, we've been in the ocean, and we've seen that no, that's pretty much a fishbowl issue. The fishbowl is going to be what the fishbowl, they're going to do what they do. But those of us who've been in the community, we know that these things are being done, and they're being done on a much larger scale than what social media will lead us to think. Because again, social media is mostly ran by the complainers. So when almost everybody on social media is the complainers, it's hard to sift through that and see what people are really doing in real life. And so that's what I'm saying, that I think that when we get out to these communities, and we start to, you know, whether it's in Atlanta, whether it's in Charlotte, whether it's in Dallas, we get out to these communities and you start seeing the full measure of our people's movements, then you look back at the fishbowl like, oh, okay, they're fishbowl fish. Okay, stay in the fishbowl and keep it moving because they want to be there. They you know they nothing makes them happier than to exist in that fishbowl. But just understand that the fishbowl is not the ocean. That's all I'm saying.
And I apologize to those who was watching on Facebook and the stream went out. So I just put it back on there. So, and then and later on, Most High willing, we always have this stuff recorded. So whatever you miss, we're gonna have it and then re-upload it as a separate YouTube video, so you can click on the link and miss what you missed. So the next question is, what does a healthy household look like? So we're talking about what's wrong, but what would it look like if everything was going right in a household?
All right, cool. Start that 7 minutes. First, I want to start off within my 7 minutes to just say, man, I appreciate all of y'all points, even the stuff that's going on in the chat, because these are some great stuff. And the reason I put out the me being in it for about 9 years now, the first 7 years, I didn't know. That's why when I started talking to Chief Zebulon, and he started bringing this out, and then I started doing my own research. I'm like, wait a minute, you know, yeah, this is our community kind of messed up, even, you know, outside of it as well sometimes, but there's some good stuff right here. Like, man, I wish I would have started off here. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I brought out the 9 years thing. I'm like, man, you know, it's there. It's out there. And I'd rather put that stuff out there because we already know so many people that already think that we're not accomplishing anything. So when we put this out there, we give people hope, like, man, you know. So the question is, what does a healthy household, I think it says, basically look like? It's everything that we're saying right now. It's everything that, how do you say the brother name? How do you say his name? I don't want to say it wrong. Somebody? Anybody?
It's Shaul.
Shaul, okay. The stuff Shaul was saying, the stuff Chief Zeb saying, everybody, Mac, you know, Tamar, I'm sure Shamika would have started with us. She would be saying. So it's just all the stuff we putting out there. You know, for me, y'all willing, my final home would be going back from the court and then being established in the community base to where, you know, you have the agricultural stuff that you learn or I might be a part of. You know how to make your own fruits and vegetables and food and stuff like that, so you can be self-sufficient instead of dealing with the outside. You know, use them as less and as least as possible. That's what my perfect one's going to be about. I'm not trying to totally remove my family from, but all I'm seeing is failure. Us being so attached to them. You know, one of the main reasons I want to say how homeschooling, that's what one of mine, a healthy one will look like for me too, is because I don't do all the other holidays. I just talked about, it was one that I would pop up with, and that was Thanksgiving. And I didn't even like that, but the only reason I did was, and I'm telling you, know, we're transparent on this show, and I do it outside the show too, is because, and I told my family, I'm like, look, I want y'all to come on the feast days with me. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to be a part so I can show y'all this. I said, I can't do this. You know, I wasn't, so Thanksgiving be the one that I'll still pop up on, but I don't now. Talk to my mom this year. I'm like, look, this is the final year. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to get you all to come. What is the point of me saying this? The point is this, the homeschooling. If my children is going out and I'm teaching them all this, then when it comes to the Christmases and all this other stuff, that's what they're seeing. Yeah, the children's strong. We teach them, we raise them up where they could be, train them in the way direction they should go, blah, 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 blah. But they're not as strong as us. No matter how you paint it to be, they're not as strong as us. You have no idea unless you like literally talking to them. And even then, they still can't articulate exactly what they're thinking. So I want to homeschool my family, my next family. I'm with my last family. And that way they can just be our traditions, like Max said, like Zeb said, our cultures. You know, that's a healthy one for mine. All that mixing is a problem. All that mixing is a problem. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned. I thank Chief Zebulon again, because now, you know, I'm dealing with some individuals right now, as far as the people I was telling about, nation builders, they've been around for 18 years, you know, and I'm just learning that they're doing the stuff that the brother Shaul was speaking on. That's a healthy family for me, bringing my family around that stuff, learning how to do these things. You know, I know I'm ranting, but it's just so much. All of this stuff it hits home with me because I'm 35 years old, man, and it's like, you know, this is what I actually, before coming into the truth, envisioned this type of uh, these type of subjects we're speaking on, but just didn't know how to obtain it because, you know, bless my family, my mom, my stepdad, who's in my life, and even my father, they just didn't know these things. A healthy home for me is learning and teaching these things to the children, to my family, my future wife, so that we can progress as a unit, as a collective unit, as far as my household, and then a binded unit as far as a nation. So, I mean, that's all I got. I really don't got anything to add. I just wanted to implement everything that y'all said. It was great points, man. Great points. And I just want to encourage those that's watching on YouTube later or watching live on Facebook now. I know what you see in the outside so-called Black community and the so-called Hebrew community, what you see, like Zeb said, Chief Zeb on Facebook, but that is just not the truth. Fully collectively, if we're going to speak on collectively. It's just not. It's just not. So, you know, try to search out and find. We gotta all stop being, you know, lazy, complacent, where we at and thinking we can't go further as a family or the healthy idea of a family that we want. You know, cleave on to those that are righteous in these things that you're trying to accomplish. You know, if you're trying to do trucking, the brother Shaul say he's a truck driver. Man, I think he said that. And if he did, I need to make sure I'm his friend on Facebook. You know, those of y'all that know me know I had a DUI 2012. Just got my license back this July. And it's like, dude, that long, but I wasn't getting a lawyer. So I learned the law and I had to learn this stuff and I fought myself. So that's the only reason. But now I gotta wait, and Shaul know, at least a year before I could do trucking. And that's what I'm doing this. So associate yourself with people that are doing things that you want to do. And I'm gonna end it with this, that you want to do, but make sure those people are what you consider. And the only reason I'm gonna say you consider, because everybody got different perceptions of righteous. I say go by the literature in the book, but I'm just gonna say your perception, righteous. And I'll follow a guy like Shaul, I'll follow a guy like Aratazah, and a guy like Elder Morey Shalim, because they're truck drivers and I need to learn from them. And with that, I yield.
Dope. I'm next. I'm probably gonna be short. I don't know. I'll talk slow, y'all. Um, what does this dynamic look like? A healthy family, to me, whether we're talking a family or a community, which is nothing more than a community of our group of families, is shared ideals, shared values, morals, ethic, and a drive to push forward. When you have a group of people, or you align yourself with people who support each other, then everything that we just talked about on this show and in this side chat can be achieved. Whether it's on a small scale, a large scale. If you say, hey, y'all 5 go learn how to plant crops, or y'all 3 go learn how to do math, excel in mathematician skills or something like that. Those things can be easily achieved. Time is one thing, which, depending on the person you're speaking to, you might have a lot of or might not have any at all, but another subject for another time. I think when we decide that, we're going to apply action to the complaining is when we see movement. When we look at the civil rights movement, whether you agree or disagree, its success was achieved when people decided not to just speak, but to do. Whether we're in positions to recreate that, that's another story. But it's possible. And, in the comments, it was the word idealistic was thrown, and not looking at our lower self. I think that's big, and that's something that we also forget. Nothing we say on this show is not achievable. And I think that's what a family dynamic needs to have. Call it being optimistic or what have you. But when you decide to say, I'm applying action, and these are the steps that I'm going to take, and you align yourself with people who say, okay, I'm going to support that. And this is what we do. There's no telling where that ball will stop rolling once it picks up momentum. The brother spoke on, I was just speaking on situations here in New Jersey as far as, or New York rather, as far as certain things being given for free, or even moving to certain locations to gain things that are freely given. There's ways to use what we see in this system, even a system that we disagree with, what we see what we can use to put ourselves in position to do what we need to do. And those things can be done strategically. That's what a healthy community looks like, if that's what the question is, And once we get out of this, I guess, as people have spoken on as far as complaining, I don't think complaining is necessarily an issue. It's only an issue when the only thing that you're doing is complaining. Speak on these issues. These things need to be talked about and that's what we created this platform to do. You know what I mean? To get these issues out there and make them prevalent so conversations and actions can be done. Without going into too much detail, like I said, I personally know people who are out doing this work every single day. And they're trying hard to get their efforts done and get things done on both a political level and, just within the confines of their friendships, and are saying, okay, this is what we're going to do to make sure we stay on top. Like I said, I know whole communities of people who said, well, look, I'm good at carpentry. I'll teach you about this if you teach me how to fix cars up. Or I'll teach you, the ins and out of banking so you can teach me how to do something. So it's a trade-off, a bartering system. And we see even there's communities of those that flourish tremendously. Now, when we get back to what the media portrayals, I mean, that's one thing. And no, you're not going to see this stuff all on social media, or you're not going to see massive media portrayals showing that. But that's when our voice has to kick in as far as those speaking out on these things. And that's kind of what, I guess you could say, what this platform does. So we allow that the ability to speak. So I'm gonna yield there. I'm gonna say simply, a family that is healthy, that looks well, that's ran like a well-oiled machine, is one that commits to supporting each other, commits to giving each other time, commits to helping each other get past those hurdles, as a whole, not pulling one back, or not using that analogy of crabs in a barrel, not being crabs, but building ladders. And when you see that, then that's where you create a legacy. And I'm gonna yield there. I don't know how much time I have, but you know, I'm just gonna end it there.
You have 47 seconds left, my brother.
Oh, well, with that, I'm gonna say, because I didn't say it earlier, shalom to everybody. Peace.
Shalom, shalom, Aki.
Okay. Shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom for that matter. Yeah, so I guess I know what Sister Shamika meant when she was when you don't go first, you know, you get to listen to a whole bunch of great stuff first, and you're like, man, I was gonna say that. Then you ain't got much to say. Now you're like, I guess I'll just shut my mouth for a little while. But yeah, excellent points. I mean, it's I think you know, just along the lines of you know, of what makes a healthy or what does a healthy household look like. I think it's pretty much the same thing that you would expect when looking at a community. You know, what does a good community look like? And it again, it goes along the same lines that that Shema spoke on, that Yeshayahu spoke on, and that is that and I think Yeshayahu used a very good analogy, and that is a well-oiled machine. And one of the things that I learned, like when I moved down here to South Carolina, you know, the first job that I went to get, just so that, you know, kind of get things moving, was I worked for Adidas. They actually, like, one of their main factories is down here in Spartanburg, where they do you know, most of the worldwide shipping of apparel, you know, footwear, whatever the case. So I was actually, you know, took that job, whatever. It wasn't too far from where I lived. Great pay or whatever. And one of the things that I learned while I was there, because I didn't really know this, you know, in New York, is actually being able to watch how a warehouse operates, with all the conveyor belts and all of the moving parts of people. Just, you know, you got one section called residual, you got another section called a whole bunch of other things. There's a whole bunch of these sections, and the size of the warehouse was like a city block. That's how, I mean, just trying to walk through this warehouse was exercise in itself. And just seeing how all of these moving parts and all of the people doing their respective roles, you know, as insignificant as they may seem when you're looking at the role itself, but when you look at the bigger picture, everybody is pushing product, everything is moving smoothly. Product is getting sent out to the various places around the world that it needs to go. And it wasn't until I actually was there working that I really fully understood, like, wow, how you can literally have 2,000 people working in a warehouse at the same time on different projects, and everything is moving smoothly and in an orderly fashion. And that was one of the things that I appreciated about that experience. And I think that's one of the things that we have to look for in a healthy household. Does it run smoothly? Do all of the workers know their respective roles? Do they perform them? And if they aren't able to perform them, are there others that can step in and say, okay, let me assist you, let me help you get on your job, let me help you get back on your square, whatever the case may be. These are the same things that we look for in communities. How smoothly does the community run? Do they have these working, oiled up, moving parts that are able to push everything the way that it needs to be pushed? And again, I don't really, and I'm not going to really offer too much more on it, because obviously, you brothers have already kind of tapped it in the area that I was going to go in. But just along the lines of there was something I was going to bring up about a comment that Yeshayahu had made, It escapes my mind at the second, but yeah, but I think that just kind of going back to an earlier point that yeah, about the idealistic element, and I got 2 minutes left. I made a statement about our platform being idealistic in that we listen, we already know what the horror shows of our community are. We live out these horror shows on a daily basis. Many of us, we come from households of dysfunction. So we know this stuff. This stuff is second nature. So that's why I think a lot of times, people speak on what they know. If you're an expert in, if you ever notice people who are experts in history, most of their conversation is about history. They don't really get into too many other things. Why? Because, one of the things I always say is, don't teach a lesson you haven't learned. So if you're an expert in something, this is what you speak on. So people speak on what they have mastered. Some of our people have mastered struggle. So this is what they speak on because they don't know success yet. You can't speak on things that you haven't really experienced and haven't really got a grasp on. So people stick to what they know. I think in Ben Sirach in the Apocrypha, it says, do not consult a coward about war. Cowards can't talk about war. Why? Because, well, you're a sissy boy. so your narrative is going to obviously be limited because you don't know war. So what do? Just talk about what you know. You talk about ducking behind cars. That's what you know how to do, and talk about it. But I think that that with this platform, we made it. I don't know if say a conscious decision, but I think we made an organic decision to always present idealistic concepts, because it's the idealistic concepts that are not promoted on social media. We don't hear a lot of people speaking idealistic things. We hear a lot of people on social media talking about exactly what we spoke about earlier, and that is complaining. But again, we're operating in a fishbowl. When you're in the pond, you say, well, no, that's a fishbowl argument, and they're entitled to that to have that argument. They're entitled to have that understanding because that's what they know. But we know better. We've seen examples of success in the community, success in families, and that's my we've seen the success, and we've seen how people have been able to uplift their communities, uplift their families in all of these areas. And I think that being that Facebook thrives on the negative a lot, and that a lot of the positive stuff doesn't get highlighted. That's one of the things that I loved about this platform is that we spend an awful amount of time, and according to some people, too much time speaking about idealistic concepts. These unattainable concepts. All this positive stuff, whatever. So but I think it's a good thing because again, we've seen enough failure as it is in the fishbowl, but the pond offers us so much more positive, so much more greater things to get involved in. So let's focus on the pond. The fishbowl will be the fishbowl, but we get in the pond, and then eventually we get in the ocean, and we see a whole bunch of other great things. And with that, I'll yield.
Yep. So I won't be brief. I won't be brief. I will try to be brief. Just a few things just in response to the question, what does a healthy household look like? And of course, I think there's always going to be room. The air quote answer to this question is not like monolithic. So there are things that will work in a household that won't work in another household. So just making sure I'm pretty sure people know that, but just making that clear. But definitely like humility among everybody in the family. So, we, even as adults, we continue to learn. So the willingness to also unlearn some of the stuff. We talk about the things that we learned coming up or as adults that have not profited us, for us to acknowledge that, to say it. Like I said that wasn't a good idea. Let's try something different. So having that, always being curious about different ways to strengthen the family. Also, accountability is a core thing in any household, from the children to the parents. People say they're gonna do something or be a certain way, then they have to do it, and they have to be held accountable for it. Otherwise, it'll be again just more talking heads. But talking heads now over the dinner table. Now we're just talking to each other about nothing. The willingness to persevere as well. I think that is something that we have lost. I know we've lost as a family, as a people. We don't want to persevere through nothing. Like even things that and it might just be tied to lack of faith. Like we don't really see the end of stuff. We are constantly rewarded immediately with a lot of different things. It's like walking through life now is like walking through flashing lights. You're like, oh, look over there. What's over there? What's this? What's that? What's that? Our attention span is horrible. So I think that we would have to have the same kind of mindset in a family, that if the family is gonna thrive and continue and be a positive thing, it can't be like Zebulon said earlier. It can't be if somebody lost their job, then it's like over with. That don't make no sense. But that is an issue that perhaps was there in the beginning that might have gotten overlooked. But just having those things, and that's nothing too. We haven't said courting yet, but I'm gonna say it, courting. That's always a solution to everything. But definitely, even forget the courting thing, because the courting don't always work either. But just but just having some standards in the beginning, and then checking people for for how they move, whatever. If they are willing to persevere with you. That's another thing too. I think that again, we talk about idealistic situations, but also situations where you are around people, whether you are talking about a household or not, people that you gel with, that you get it. Like you don't have to necessarily tell such and such that we're gonna do this. They already get it. So aligning yourself with people like that, of course in the household ideally, but definitely in any kind of larger work that we would do, because the household is the beginning of the nation. So we want to align ourselves with people who have the same vision and the same drive and the same commitment. Otherwise, we'll have continued failure as well. And I kind of rambled through that. And of course, having an us versus me mind frame in a household, that should be obvious. But daddy is not okay. Daddy can't make moves outside of mama, and mama can't make moves outside of daddy, and the kids can't make moves outside of whoever. You know what I'm saying? But there has to be that understanding as well. And then I know, Mac, you mentioned earlier, I don't want to forget about it, but you mentioned about the roles. And we actually have an upcoming episode, I think it's in late January, early February, where we're going to be talking about the roles of husband and wife. So maybe, I hope you can join us then. And maybe, I don't know if I can, Shema, if you can remind him, I don't know. But we are talking about that in more detail.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I definitely would love for you to come back on and build with us, because we'll have 2 hours on each role to really dig in and see what's what with that. But
I wasn't really.
that's all I wanted to add. And
talking about I was just trying to touch. I was branching off the finances, but I think I still opened up a broad vault. So yeah, that's all. I was speaking on the finance part, not really the role. So I should, if I could. Yeah, that's all. I was trying to.
Okay.
That's cool.
But I'm sure that'll come up. We're talking about roles. I'm sure that'll come up. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Shaul, we want to jump in?
All right, I'm here. Just wanted to throw out something real quick. I know Brother Shema was talking about driving them trucks, man. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation, man, when the time is permitted, and let's see what we can work on, what we could do. Another thing is, I heard you say something earlier about nation builders, and the chief elder of nation builders is my direct elder, who I made a covenant with to do a lot of these things we're talking about. And I wanted to get him on here today because this like his expertise talking about this type of stuff. Because
Aki, I texted him this morning about it. I know you're a busy dude. I texted him and showed him the name of the title and stuff. Go ahead, but that's exactly. It's funny you said that. Well,
I wanted to get him on, but I hope you guys do a part 2 to this topic, or whatever else we talk about, building wise, agriculture wise, or family structure wise. I'm gonna try to get him on. Um, hopefully he got his other phone back, because the problem with his phone now is that unless I can get him on like a three-way or something on my line, then he probably wouldn't be able to download the app on his phone because he got so many apps on his phone, at least what he told me before.
They could
That
call in too. We could give them a number to
call
call
in.
in. I think,
Yeah.
am I right? Tomorrow, it's a way we can get him to call, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We have to
Yeah.
We'll figure that out for him.
figure it
Yeah,
out.
that worked. Yeah, because I told him about the show before and he wanted to get on. So I talked to him probably about an hour and a half this morning. And he wanted well, I didn't tell him about this particular show, but I told him about a few shows before. So he definitely interested in getting on talking about it. But just to throw another piece of information out there, or disclaimer, like, when I was talking about our people complaining earlier, that wasn't necessarily coming from a social media perspective. Because if anybody know me, man, I travel a lot. I didn't do so in 2019, but over the last few years, man, I've been all over the place, different camps, organizations, congregations, talking to a bunch of people. And it's a lot of people out here that's doing things, but it's also a lot of groups and organizations out here that look like they're doing things and they're not doing a damn thing. So that's basically the perspective I was coming from in regards to the complaining. And I do want to throw that another thing out there too about the complaining thing, is that complaining, in my view, is not just talking and typing. Your approach to how you try to solve a problem can be a complaint too, because I think a problem for us is sticking our hands out and begging people to help us and pull us up. Like, that's not the other nation's job for us to beg them and for them to pull us up. It's our job to make things right with the Most High so that we can be blessed. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And the question was, so to answer the question directly was, what does a healthy household look like? So I think to truly understand what a healthy household would look like, we have to understand what the foundation or the basic level of a foundation for a family should be. Of course, every family is going to be different, but there's one thing that links every family together, and that's gender roles. The woman play her role, the man play his role. And my thing is this: how is it that though we have a lot more knowledge today, more abundant, easier access to the knowledge, more access to money, more access to more opportunities, but we fail in every single category: marriage, relationships, whatever, finances, whatever. And we have people, our great grandparents, great grandparents, who had nothing, barely had a pot to piss in, but was able to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, buy land, keep their businesses running. And a lot of Black families to this day still have access to those businesses and finances to this day. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely want to give a shout out to, Nation Builders, the Straightways, and all the other communities that's doing their thing, that's trying to bring back a culture, that's trying to bring back authenticity in regards to Israel, family structure, patriarchy, you know what I'm saying, matriarchy in its proper setting, and the whole nine. But back to the question at hand, are just a few generations ago, these people had nothing. They actually had to deal with, like, not saying that we don't have racial issues or don't have any issues today in regards to race, but it's not as big of a factor as it was when I just a few generations ago had to deal with it. They literally had to deal with this more abundantly than we have to deal with it now. But what social media does is it make things look like it's bigger than what it actually is. It's not I'm not trying to poo-poo it, but at the end of the day, we cannot compare our issues and what we're dealing with to what our great grandmothers and grandfathers dealt with, 80 years ago, because they literally had to deal, like all of them had to deal with a lot of issues. So, I think it's an insult to them to even try to compare the two eras. But even through all of that they went through, they still were able to prosper in marriage, relationships, finances, businesses. They was able to do things with very little that we have an abundance of today, and we ain't doing nothing with it collectively. Yeah, it's a lot of groups out here that's doing things, but at the end of the day, unless everybody say I'm a grab this mantle and do my part, it's only going to the delay, the inevitable. Like it's I mean, yeah, it looks good aesthetically. Like it's aesthetically pleasing to see that communities are doing their thing, and that's a great thing. But at the end of the day, we are a nation of people, and the people that are negative outnumber those who are doing things that are positive. So that's my time, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's right. I wanted to do that, y'all. I never had a chance to do that in any camp. I just wanted to say that. That's right. Yeah, you're not a real Hebrew unless you have said that statement. If you haven't said that, you're slacking.
I said it, man, but just not on the streets.
Let me shut up for you. So you're not a real Hebrew. Yeah, well,
No, it's okay. We actually have one last question. It's kind of similar to what we already was kind of talking about. But it's what strategies can we use to fortify our household? So so I guess we take this time. If it's anything that anybody wanted to say towards solutions that they didn't have a chance to say, I guess we can make that be what it is. Continuing the order, of course, but yeah, there we go.
All right. Man, first of all, I want to say, Shaul, man, I don't know if we friends on Facebook, but I knew you from someone when I looked at your picture, man. I'm like, man, you look familiar. And his elder is the very person I'm talking with now, got connected with through Oratazah. You know Oratazah off of Facebook? But he
I met the brother in person and everything. Yeah, I know a lot of those brothers, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess I'll take this time to go into, which I do hope, little bro, well, he's my big little bro now. I think he's an inch taller than me. But Mac Brown, I do want to take this time to maybe talk about what he had brought, but hopefully you do come back and chime in with us on the topic that you said we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks with gender roles. And I think he was talking about like the finances, so I'll be kind of brief. To sum it up for me, I forgot the exact question that he brought, but I think a lot of what we're talking about now, and this isn't an excuse, but it is a fact. And I think the best way to change and go forward is to know the facts. Because a lot of times we do stuff because we don't know the facts. We don't have the information. We don't have the education to get past it. We don't know what our ancestors, grandparents, and stuff like that been through, did, how they did it, how they were successful. We don't even know the scriptures like that, honestly. So conditioning to me for my studies has been the main factor. Influence and conditioning has been the main factor when it comes to, and she said systematical approach too, which is true, has been the main.
I didn't say systematical. Don't you dare. I said systemic. Okay? That was all you. What the heck is a systematical? That's you.
I thought you said systematical. I was about to say, okay. But anyway, systemic approach has been a big factor. So how do we get around that? And I don't know if that's what he was asking, but I'm gonna just throw that in there. How do we get around that? I think one of the major issues by them implementing that and doing that, it has caused a dysfunction within the family. And I love how Shaul had brought out and said patriarchal, then he said matriarchy in its place or something like that. Like, meaning we have our roles, but I think that the systemic thing that they placed on our people has caused the disconnection between the man and the woman. So we're steady battling. If we wasn't battling and had that pushed on us, then a woman making more than us, in my opinion, I'm not saying it's a fact, probably wouldn't be a great big deal or big deal because the roles would still be respected. The woman would still respect the man. It's not the fact that the woman makes more than the man in our generation now. It's the fact that since she is, depending on the woman, not all women, since she is, then that respect is either not given to the man or lack, which is the same thing. Okay, you know what? I do this. I run this type stuff. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've witnessed it. I've watched it. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's there. But that's why I love like what the nation builders are doing, how they and people of a lot of people within our community, like what Chief Zebulon talking about, and like Righteous Trees Assembly, when they're trying to reestablish the role dynamic biblically to help. And what's crazy is, well, not crazy, ironically, even our ancestors, our grandparents and stuff that might not have the understanding that we have biblically, right? They still had it within them. They still understood the roles within them. And that's why, yes, my voice went pitchy. I believe they didn't have the financial stability that we have now, or money-making ability that we have now, but they were succeeding family-wise because they recognized and they respected the roles. And it goes back to what I'm talking about with the systemic and the influence and conditioning that's happening with our women, young women, and even middle-aged women today in our community, and why a lot of us are failing, because the man ultimately wants to have respect. I think both of them do. But ultimately, if we are not having that respect, that money and financial issue that he's bringing up does play a part in that, because it's a sense of their power. And they feel they have that sense of that power. That's just my thoughts. I could be wrong. And that, I think, is really causing a problem, one of the problems within it. And how much time I got left before I finish my thought? Oh, she was 155. I'm about to cut my stuff short.
You have
Last
220.
minutes. Okay, I'm just gonna say one last thing. I'm done. So I'm not gonna say that's the biggest issue at all, but I'm gonna say that's a major one. Going back, piggybacking off of Chief Zebulon when he was talking about that's a big issue. And if we can filter out our roles, even within the systemic financial, I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but what is geared more towards a woman, in my opinion. And I'm talking about all across the board. I ain't talking about women that work their butts off and get their degrees and stuff like that. I take my hats off. But I'm talking about from a systemic standpoint. If we could get past that and we could just focus on our roles, then I think a lot of what what my brother was speaking on, I'm not sure if I'm hitting it, Aki, but it wouldn't be as prominent in our community, in our families. Because in my family, I mean, I ain't putting everybody out there, but all the women in my family are single. Am I wrong or am I right, Matt? Let me know if I'm wrong or right. I don't know. So that's an issue.
No, you're not wrong.
All right.
Zebulon?
Oh, I thought Yeshayahu was picking up after me. I mean, before me.
No, he said he gonna yield.
I'm gonna yield. We only got like 3 minutes left. So
Yeah, I was actually going to do the same because again, we speak on the regular, so obviously, I'm sure Brother Mac Brown would like to present something in closing, and obviously Brother Shiles. So I'll concede as well.
Now y'all making me feel bad. I should have did the same thing. I'm sorry.
But I'm the founder.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah, you pretty much hit everything on the head. I wasn't really. I guess I missed the episode based on roles. I wasn't really trying to speak on the roles. I was really just branching off of the finance part, and I think brother, what do you speak on? That was earlier. Talked about
She's very
school.
loud.
Yeah. He was talking about the way it's been presented in schools, and that's why, as generalized statement, generalized outlook in today's society is that women are smarter. That's it. He hit it already, so that's all. He already backed me up on it. I wasn't speaking nothing else. I wasn't talking about, oh, the man needs to be making money. No, I wasn't doing any of that. He hit it on the head. He backed it up in the chat. So that was all with that. That was good. This was good though. I appreciate all of you. Very wise individuals in this on this platform. So I will be back. Appreciate you guys accepting me today on the show. Thank you. And with that, I yield.
Hallelujah.
So is it on me? Okay. So I think Shema made a great point, man, talking about the facts and where these things come from and where they started. I'm gonna answer the question about things we could do to fortify our families or whatnot, and give a little bit of background and history on how the man and the woman separated from each other. You know, we always get the the Willie Lynch Jim Crow story, but it's really a lot more nuanced than that. So I'm gonna make my answers solution oriented. So when I brought up gender roles earlier, we know that the feminist movement is one movement that separates the woman from the man. Movement was started by Elizabeth Stanton during the time when Susan B. Anthony was living. Her and a lot of other white women. Feminism was a white woman's issue. But because the black man had no power globally or even as a government, they was able to convince some of the black leaders, or the black women who had a voice in the community to follow along with the feminist movement. Just giving a basic rundown on it. It's definitely more details than that. But anyway, that was one thing that started it amongst our people. Integration is another thing. Us trying, trying to get a piece of what they've built instead of, glorying and appreciating and having contentment and satisfaction in our own success. That's another thing. So, those that want to know about how the man and the woman, the black man and the black woman separated, steady feminism, steady integration, steady Jim Crow, and look up these figures, these characters from back in that time frame, like Elizabeth Stanton, Susan B. Anthony. These were a lot of the women who used us as pawns to fortify their own movement. So to answer the question directly, what strategies can we use to fortify our households? Again, I'll go back to understanding gender roles, and it also touch on what the brother was talking about as far as the finances, and Shema was talking about the women making more money. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an issue that a woman makes more money. The problem is this: and this is all due to feminism. Once the woman was introduced into the workplace, the public workplace with everybody else, that tore the families apart right there. That was one of the tools used to tear the families apart. Because if you talk about a culture or Hebrew culture, women are not allowed to work with men in the majority of the work settings, because there's a natural attraction between the opposite sex. So if you got women that are highly successful in the work field and they're attractive, but they're married, and then you got all these other brothers who are single working in the same environment, it's only a matter of time. I'm not saying that there's not any wholesome or you know uh, uh you know integral women or men in these workplaces, but it's only a matter of time before that man or that woman commit some type of adulterous act. So in ancient times, the women, that's why gender roles, that's why I keep bringing up gender roles, because this is why the women's role was separate from the man's role. It was to keep a certain level of wickedness out of the group, out of the nation, out of the congregations, out of the camps, or whatever you want to call it. And that's basically what it is. So some of the things we could do to strengthen, another thing we could do to strengthen our or fortify our households is some of the things we talked about earlier. Brothers getting their skills, getting their finances in order. Brothers, if you single out, brothers that's single, whether you have children or not, if you single, man, spend as much time as you need to develop your skill sets. Find you some elders, find some brothers with a good, strong work ethic. Develop your skills before you get married. So that way, when you get married, eventually, most high willing, everything falls into place. You got your finances in order. You understand money. You understand how to lead. You understand how to administer, how to command, so that you can lead your household. That's going to be another step. The women, you guys look for, find you some men or some elders that you can trust that can cover you as a woman until it's time for you to get married, instead of just going out here willy-nilly, doing whatever you gotta do. Those who are married, are in a relationship right now, that have children, work on your finances together. Brothers, strengthen your skill sets, go enroll into those programs, even if you have to take, 9 months, 12 months away from your family. It's some, just figure out something to try to take advantage of a lot of these programs so that you can get them in your pocket, you know what I'm saying, so that you can better yourself in the future and start your, investment portfolio, or whatever the case is. Pull your children out of school and start homeschooling them, get you some land, start bringing in some different streams of income. It's a lot of opportunities. Can't really go into detail. Anybody want to know in detail what those things are and what me or other people that I'm around are doing, what I'm saying? Like Maurice Shalem, brothers from Nation Builders that got real estate businesses and they make money off of, cattle and things like that. Inbox me. I'll get you in contact with him. If you don't already know who that is, it's a lot of other things. You can start a beehive, a beehive distribution where you sell honey. Beehives only cost $250. You can sell worms. You can sell dirt. It's a lot of things that people can do to make extra income to better ourselves and our family, just from a financial perspective and from a family perspective. Gender roles. Just on a superficial level. So that's it. Shalom.
That's right.
Yeah. It's all good information. I'm glad we share resources, and even people is even better. And just because things always flow like this, next week's topic, most high willing, is the indivisibility of us. So I think this is going to be I'm excited for this conversation. It's going to be a good conversation about the fact that
Is that a real word?
That's nasty.
You said
That is
indivisibility.
nasty. I'm sorry. I had to cut that in.
indivisibility.
I ain't never heard that word in my life. You made it up, dude.
That's fire. We say that in we say that every morning when we pledge allegiance to the flag.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Yeah.
Shaul, for backing me
So
up.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we have to
thank
be,
you.
we definitely have to be indivisible. We definitely have to be that for sure.
Yeah,
That's fire. That's fire. I'm definitely gonna be for
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to, I guess, invisibility.
So
Okay.
so we'll be getting into it'd be great if we can come out with the history, like you just broke it down, Shaul, and I know Zebulon mentioned it before. But just so we can get to the mind state of why we even think that we can live separately. Now that's a whole nother level. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, most high willing, next week, same time, 12 Central, 1 Eastern. Again, our apologies for I'm not gonna apologize, it's not my fault, but the internet cut off the the stream, but we'll put up the full video later on so you can watch it all the way through, and then share the video, especially the resources. If you have resources that other people that's doing the work, let us know, and we're happy to continue to share the information out. So that's the whole purpose of the platform, is to do better. So until next week, shalom, shalom.